Olaf Scholz is the Federal Minister of Finance and Vice Chancellor, who is just sort of thrown in his hat to become Chancellor next year. And we're very happy to have received his statement, his outlook on climate action.
Dear participants of the F20 Climate Solutions Week, with your contributions this week, you are illustrating a simple truth. Global challenges require global answers. And global answers require global forums to deliver them. They require a multilateral approach. Now, perhaps more than ever, there can be no doubt about that. It was during the financial crisis that the G20 really came into its own as a global forum. Back then, the multilateral approach, organized by a significant extent through the G20, was key in coordinating action to avert a worldwide financial meltdown and economic depression. Yes, multilateralism often requires hard work. It takes perseverance and the willingness to compromise. But it is indispensable in a globalized world, especially when facing a major global challenge. Now we are in the middle of two major global challenges, and there is not a minute to spare when it comes to tackling both of them. The immediate challenge is overcoming COVID-19. The pandemic provides a stark example of how vulnerable we are as human beings and how we are all depend on each other on this planet. It is shining a spotlight on the need for resilience in our health systems and in our economies. And it shows that nationalistic reflexes lead us in the wrong direction. The world must work together to overcome this virus, and the G20 have played an important part in steering global action to combat COVID-19. Joining forces in our health response and in our hunt for a vaccine will bring us closer to ending the pandemic. Coordinating our economic responses will help us to counter the deepest recession in living memory. We must minimize disruption to global supply chains and ensure unfettered access to critical goods. We must safeguard jobs and we must bolster health systems across the globe. We must also make sure that the financial burden of this crisis is shared fairly, because ultimately, our best assets for tackling this crisis depend on solid public finances. I'm talking about responsible governments having the capacity to act decisively. And I'm talking about strong social security systems cushioning the impact on people's life and acting as automatic stabilizers to slow any economic downturn. We must stand by countries in need. The G20 instituting a debt moratorium was an important step that will help hard-hit countries in the developing world fight the virus and its economic fallout. We will only be out of danger once all parts of the world have the virus in check. Together, we can overcome COVID-19, and together we must tackle the other global challenge that we have been facing for many years now: climate change. Yes, the climate crisis has been unfolding over a longer horizon. We feel its effects more gradually, but its risks are becoming increasingly clear. As a crisis, it is not less damaging or dramatic, and fighting it is not less important. Climate change poses the biggest threat to our future that we know. Despite COVID-19, we cannot allow ourselves a break in the fight against climate change. On the contrary, we should use the post-pandemic recovery to move towards carbon neutrality. Governments all across the world are implementing stimulus packages. In this situation, we have an opportunity to drive forward the ecological transformation of our economies and to promote climate-friendly growth. We should direct stimulus investments into the carbon-free technologies of the future, into hydrogen and into new forms of mobility. We have geared Germany's stimulus package to this approach. We are doing the same with Europe's recovery program. And we are working within the G20 and in other formats to have as many countries as possible join us. Facing the task of building a climate-friendly global economy and looking at the pace of the digital transformation, we need to realize one thing. The 2020s will be a decade marked by mega trends, by technological and by societal change. To positively shape the future, we will need a strong civil society. We will need more respect, solidarity, and democracy. To this end, platforms such as the F20 play an important role in bringing people together and fostering debate across borders. I wish you and the F20 every success in your mission to promote climate action and sustainable development. Thank you.
And thank you, of course, to Olaf Scholz in Berlin. A couple of years ago, of course, I could have said to Olaf Scholz in Hamburg, but I think he remains a person from Hamburg at heart.